November 19th, 1942. Dawn breaks over the Volga River's frozen banks, the air so cold it stings like 1,000 needles. Field Marshal Friedrich Paulus stands in his command post, a makeshift bunker carved into the snow-dusted ruins of Stalingrad, his breath fogging the dim lantern light as he pores over maps stained with coffee and blood. The wind howls outside, carrying the distant rumble of artillery, a symphony of destruction that has become the Sixth Army's lullaby. But today, something shifts in that frozen hell. Shadows move in the blizzard, vast and unrelenting, and Paulus's world is about to shatter. Paulus adjusts his monocle, his gloved fingers tracing the bold lines on the map where his forces have pushed deep into the Soviet heartland. Operation Barbarossa had been a blitz of triumphs. Millions of Red Army soldiers captured, cities falling like dominoes. Now, here in Stalingrad, named after the Soviet dictator himself, the Sixth Army, over 300,000 strong, has the city in its grip. Tanks from the 14th Panzer Corps rumble through the skeletal factories, their tracks crunching over rubble and frozen corpses. Infantrymen huddle in foxholes, their Carabiner 98K rifles at the ready, sharing cigarettes and dreams of a quick victory. The Russians are broken, Paulus mutters to his aide, Colonel Wilhelm Adam, his voice laced with the confidence of a man who has outmaneuvered fate. The Luftwaffe's Henkel 111 bombers scream overhead, dropping payloads on the last pockets of resistance along the river's edge, where Soviet snipers pick off the unwary from shattered windows. You can almost feel the bite of that winter wind whipping through the streets, turning breath to ice crystals on beards and helmets. The Germans had prepared for this. Wool greatcoats, felt boots scavenged from fallen foes, but nothing could blunt the savagery of a Russian winter. Yet morale runs high. Reports from the front lines speak of Soviet troops surrendering in droves, their T-34 tanks bogged down in snowdrifts, their commissars executing deserters to stem the tide. Paulus's strategy is textbook Wehrmacht: encircle, isolate, annihilate. The city is a maze of bombed-out buildings, the tractor factory, the grain elevator, where house-to-house fighting has claimed thousands, but the end seems near. Hitler himself has declared Stalingrad the key to the Caucasus oil fields, the gateway to ultimate victory. One more push, Paulus tells his generals during a hurried briefing, the room thick with cigar smoke and the scent of ersatz coffee. General Arthur Schmidt nods approvingly, his face etched with the lines of endless campaigns. But beneath the bravado, cracks begin to show. Supply lines stretch thin across the steppe, convoys harassed by partisan raids. Fuel runs low for the Panzer IIIs and IVs, their engines coughing in the sub-zero temperatures. Rations dwindled to horse meat and frozen bread, soldiers wrapping their feet in newspaper to ward off frostbite. Still, the Germans press on, their MG-42 machine guns chattering like demons in the night, mowing down waves of Soviet infantry charging with bayonets fixed. In the command post, radios crackle with victories. Sector 7 secured, enemy retreating. Paulus allows a rare smile. He envisions the headlines back in Berlin. Stalingrad falls, the Führer's genius affirmed. The Sixth Army is the spearhead of the Reich, unbreakable, unstoppable. As the sun climbs higher, casting long shadows over the Volga's ice floes, scouts report unusual quiet from the flanks. Romanian allies guarding the northern and southern approaches send word of probing attacks, but nothing alarming. Paulus dismisses it as desperation. After all, intelligence suggests the Red Army is depleted, Stalin scraping the barrel for reinforcements. What could they possibly muster in this wasteland? The general steps outside, the snow crunching under his boots, gazing toward the horizon where the steppe meets the sky in a blur of white. His men cheer as he passes, their faces gaunt but eyes fierce. Victory is at hand, or so it seems. But in the distance, beyond the veil of the blizzard, something stirs. A low thunder, not artillery, but the growl of engines, thousands of them. Paulus returns to his maps, oblivious, plotting the final assault. But the storm is about to break. What if the Soviets weren't broken at all? What if they were waiting, gathering like wolves in the snow? November 19th, 1942, 0517 hours. The thermometer outside Paulus's bunker reads minus 32 degrees Celsius, the mercury frozen solid in its glass tube. Inside, a junior signals officer burst through the frost-rimed door, snowflakes clinging to his greatcoat like shrapnel. Herr Feldmarschall, urgent from the northern flank. His voice cracks, half from cold, half from terror. Paulus turns, irritation flaring. "Speak, Lieutenant." The man thrusts forward a crumpled intercept. Soviet tanks, hundreds of them, T-34s with wide winter tracks, pouring across the Don River bridgeheads held by the Romanian Third Army. Not probing, not raiding, a full-scale assault. Paulus's monocle slips from his eye, clinking against the map table. You can almost hear the silence that follows, thick as the ice on the Volga. Then the room erupts. General Schmidt slams a fist on the table. "Romanians, they'll fold like paper." Paulus stares at the map, the red arrows he drew weeks ago now mocking him. The 6th Army's flanks are guarded by allies with obsolete 37mm anti-tank guns and no winter camouflage. Their trenches are shallow, their morale brittle. And now from the white void, the Red Army emerges. General Georgy Zhukov has been invisible for months, a ghost in Stalin's war council. While Paulus bled his divisions in Stalingrad's factories, Zhukov orchestrated Operation Uranus in absolute secrecy. 1 million men, 1,000 tanks, 14,000 artillery pieces, hidden in forests and ravines under blizzards that grounded Luftwaffe reconnaissance. They moved only at night, engines muffled with straw, tracks wrapped in rags, civilians evacuated, radios silent. Even the weather conspired. Low cloud cover, snow squalls, temperatures that turned German machine oil to sludge. At 0520, the first Katyusha rockets scream overhead. Not the usual probing salvos, but a wall of fire. Hundreds of launchers, truck-mounted BM-13s, hidden in the steppes folds, unleash 3,200 rockets in 90 seconds. The sky turns red. Romanian positions vanish in geysers of snow and steel. Survivors stagger rearward, faces black with burns, uniforms shredded. A Romanian colonel radios in panic. T-34s everywhere. They're inside the wire. The line goes dead. Paulus demands air support. The Luftwaffe's base at Tatsinskia reports whiteout conditions. Runways iced over. No sorties possible. He orders the 14th Panzer Corps to pivot north. But its fuel reserves are down to 2 days. Its tanks frozen in place. Mechanics hammer engines with mallets. Pour gasoline on tracks to thaw them. Too slow. By 700 hours, Soviet spearheads of the 5th Tank Army sliced through the Romanian 1st Armored Division like a hot blade through butter. Captured prisoners, wide-eyed and frostbitten, babble about endless columns stretching to the horizon. They came from the snow itself, one whispers. In the bunker, Paulus's staff officers trace the breach on the map with trembling fingers. The northern flank is unraveling. Worse, identical reports flood in from the south. General Vasily Chuikov's 62nd Army, the defenders Paulus thought crushed inside Stalingrad, suddenly surges. They're not retreating, they're attacking. From the city's ruins, Soviet infantry in white camouflage pour out, submachine guns blazing, supported by T-34s that have materialized from factory cellars like demons from hell. Paulus steps outside again. The wind has died. An eerie quiet settles, broken only by the distant thunder of engines. Growing louder, he raised his binoculars. Through drifting snow he sees them, a horizon black with tanks, infantry riding on the hulls, red banners snapping in the wind. Not hundreds, thousands. The steppe itself seems to vomit steel. His chief of intelligence, Colonel Wilhelm Adam, stands beside him, voice hollow. "My Gott, Friedrich, it's an ocean." The noose is tightening. But how deep does it go? And what will Paulus sacrifice to break it? November 20th, 1942, 1400 hours. Inside the encircled pocket, the temperature plummets to minus 38 degrees Celsius. Paulus's command post, a former department store on the western bank, now reeks of kerosene heaters, unwashed bodies, and fear. A single radio operator, headphones clamped to frost-red ears, relays the unthinkable. Soviet spearheads from north and south have linked up at Kalach, 50 kilometers behind the 6th Army. The